The origin of South Korea's government harvest purchase program.
In this segment, we will see how Tongil rice was intertwined with the Saemaul movement in the 1970s, specifically via the government harvest purchase program, or 추곡수매. The government harvest purchase program, or 추곡수매, was a central component of South Korea's agricultural policy, serving as a mechanism to stabilize rice prices, support rural incomes, and ensure national food security. While 추곡수매 in modern Korea is often associated with the Park Chung-hee administration, its origins can be traced back to an earlier period during the Seungman Rhee administration. After liberation in 1945, Korea faced severe food shortages exacerbated by the devastation of the Korean War. Throughout this period, the government maintained tight control over the rice market, laying the foundation for the eventual establishment of 추곡수매. The foundational idea of state intervention in rice markets was first introduced by Jo Bong-am, a progressive politician who served as the Minister of Agriculture from 1948 to 1950. Under his leadership, South Korea established the initial framework for government grain purchasing, which later evolved into the more structured 추곡수매 program of 1969 under Park Chung-hee. Despite being introduced as a policy to support farmers, the government harvest purchase program was not particularly popular among them. The primary reason for this was the chronic shortage of rice in South Korea, which caused the market price of rice to remain consistently higher than the government procurement price. Farmers found little incentive to sell their valuable rice to the government at a lower price and instead preferred direct transactions with the market where they could secure better returns. To address this issue, it was necessary to significantly increase the government purchase price.
추곡수매인 박정희 era.
Reintroduced in 1969 under the Park Chung-hee administration, the new government procurement program was deeply intertwined with broader economic and political developments. Initially designed to address food shortages and market volatility, 추곡수매 evolved over the decades, reflecting shifts in government priorities, economic growth, and the increasing push for market liberalization. The procurement program newly introduced in 1969 is often described as the dual price system because the key idea was to purchase rice and barley, the two major grains for South Koreans, at higher prices than market value in late autumn, when the market value is the lowest. It was primarily aimed at ensuring stable grain prices, securing food reserves, and protecting farmers from price volatility. The government purchased the rice directly from farmers at preset prices, often at a rate higher than market value for a new harvest, providing rural households with a guaranteed income. This approach not only shielded farmers from economic instability, but also helped the government control inflation and maintain stable food supplies in urban areas. At a time when South Korea was prioritizing rapid industrialization, securing food self-sufficiency was a strategic imperative, as reliance on food imports could threaten national stability. This dual price system placed a considerable financial burden on the government. However, from a broader economic perspective, it was regarded as an investment in economic stability, as it helped regulate the rice market and prevent overall inflation in commodity prices in the national market. Nevertheless, even when the government raised its purchase price, there was always the possibility that private rice merchants would offer even higher prices for popular rice varieties, thereby outcompeting government purchases and diverting supply away from the state procurement program. It was in this context that Tongil rice played a crucial role in stabilizing and institutionalizing the 추곡수매 program.
추곡수매, 새마을 movement, and 통일 rice.
As South Korea sought to achieve food self-sufficiency and stabilize rural incomes, the adoption of 통일 rice and the expansion of 추곡수매 became deeply intertwined. The government's commitment to purchasing farmers' rice at guaranteed prices provided both an incentive for mass cultivation of 통일 rice and a mechanism for stabilizing agricultural markets. Because 통일 rice was produced in large quantities and had a lower consumer preference compared to traditional Japonica rice varieties, the government was able to secure a stable supply through the procurement program without intense competition from private traders. By promoting the mass cultivation of 통일 rice and ensuring guaranteed purchases through 추곡수매, the government was able to strengthen its control over the rice market, stabilize rural incomes, and prevent possible price hikes in the private sector. The government implemented a preferential pricing policy for 통일 rice by purchasing it at one grade higher than its actual quality classification, effectively offering a significant price advantage over other rice varieties. Additionally, it announced that most of the government's rice purchasing budget was exhausted solely on 통일 rice acquisitions. This policy sent a clear signal that the government had no intention of purchasing Japonica rice through the state procurement system, effectively excluding it from 추곡수매. As a result, farmers growing 통일 rice and the Park Chung-hee administration entered into a de facto nationwide contract farming arrangement. Farmers who cultivate the high-yield variety promoted by the government were granted various economic incentives. In turn, the state could secure a reliable rice supply to meet national demands. The 추곡수매 program also became closely integrated into the frame of the Saemaul movement under the banner of increasing rural household income. During the 1970s, this mutually reinforcing system created a positive feedback loop. The technological system of the Green Revolution functioned as a virtuous cycle, driving South Korea into an upward spiral of agricultural and economic development. Through this mechanism, the government successfully linked state-led rural development, agricultural industrialization, and national food security, accelerating South Korea's modernization trajectory. By 1975, 통일 rice accounted for a major share of the national rice supply, and 추곡수매 facilitated its widespread adoption by ensuring that farmers had a guaranteed buyer. At this point, 추곡수매 was no longer just an economic policy, it became a tool for national food security, rural stability, and political legitimacy.
추곡수매 after the 1980s.
By the mid-1980s, despite its historical contribution, the 추곡수매 system faced new challenges, including overproduction, financial burdens, and pressure to transition toward a more open and competitive agricultural market. Ironically, the success of the interventionist policies symbolized by the 추곡수매 program led to increased production of rice and eventually led to growing government stockpiles of rice and rising costs of purchasing and storing the surplus. These structural issues became more apparent by the early 1980s. While the program had initially helped farmers achieve economic stability, the continued accumulation of surplus rice placed a growing financial strain on the government. Storage and maintenance costs rose sharply, making the program increasingly unsustainable. As South Korea moved toward a more export-oriented economy, the country faced increasing demands to open its agricultural sector to foreign competition. While rice imports remained restricted, the government recognized that excessive subsidies and market controls could create trade disputes in the future. As a result, by the mid-1980s, discussions about reforming the rice procurement system and introducing more market-driven policies became more prominent. Although full-scale liberalization did not occur until the 1990s, the transition away from heavy government intervention had already begun. The legacy of Chugoksume is deeply embedded in South Korea's economic and agricultural history. In its early years, the program played a crucial role in ensuring food security, stabilizing rural incomes, and fostering agricultural productivity. However, as South Korea's economy grew and structural changes took place, the limitations of a heavily state-controlled rice market became apparent. By the mid-1980s, the government had begun to scale back its intervention, paving the way for future market-oriented agricultural reforms. In this sense, Chugoksume reflects South Korea's broader transition from a state-driven developmental model to a more open and competitive economy, mirroring the broader trajectory of the country's modernization.